Richard Del Connor is the philosopher poet of the hippie generation.
Hello, everybody out there in Neverland. Whoops, I need to move something. I think I moved my camera because we're seeing stuff we're not supposed to be seeing. There we go. Keep you guys in the dark. There we go. All right, we in total darkness, my friend. All right, here we go. Today's podcast is going to feature a look at the website psychedelicrockopera.com. Singular. psychedelicrockopera.com. Now, this is obviously about me. Since I write stories that are based on my life, my books, my poetry, my songs, my albums, and everything's about me, really, my life at least. And so when I'm even writing fiction, I would say that a majority of the information is true stuff that, of course, I just reformulated and put different faces on and had different people saying or doing the same thing. Instead of saying, oh, who was I really having sex with? Well, in this book, it was this girl. But in real life, I'm using the memories of this other girl. Okay, here we go. Now, in this case, we're at Psychedelic Rock Opera, and we only got 4 pages to look at, really. So it's going to go a little quicker. This is a WordPress website as opposed to the last few we've been looking at, which were HTML, old-fashioned websites. WordPress has only been around about 10 years, and it's kind of it's easier to use in some ways and more difficult in others, but overall it's probably easier. And so I think that's why, unfortunately, my kind of websites, my old-fashioned websites, HTML, are going out of business. In fact, even my software, Adobe, is not going to update the software that I need to build my websites. They haven't done an update in 4 years. So I don't know, building websites the old-fashioned ways. But the problem is these new websites, they have all these plugins. They run off plugins, not HTML. Well, it's HTML plus plugins. And these plugins are always being updated and stuff. So after a year or two, if you don't update your plugins, the actual website won't function correctly. Whereas my websites will function pretty much forever, for thousands of years without any updates whatsoever. As long as you just need HTML code. So my WordPress websites can have problems that I cannot foresee. And they need to be updated. The software has to be updated. So with websites like this, what I do is I go in and say, automatically update these things. So then they'll update automatically, to some extent. But you can't update the overall program. I have to do that manually because when it first comes out, there's lots of problems. I've had problems where I've updated it too quickly, and then certain links and things don't work, and some of the other software that I've got connected and the plugins don't work, and I've had to go back to a previous version. And that's evidently a very common thing. So to me, you can't. There's some programs that I really shouldn't have an auto update because they may not be ready when they come out. But I may have to do it anyway. Like the major WordPress, the WordPress program itself has to be updated. And when I call up my web host and I talk to the service people, they're usually saying, well, stay about, a generation down from the top, to make sure everything's working. Because if the plugins don't update to keep up with WordPress, then the two of them don't work together. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But at some point, it's going to be broke if you don't fix it. That's what I don't like about WordPress. So the survival rate here is what concerns me. And this is one of the websites, but that looks cool. It's easier to do fancy stuff than it is with with my normal websites. You can get templates that have a lot of fancy stuff like these in them, but you end up having to pay more for them, and it slows them down a lot to employ those extra plugins, which is why WordPress websites are always so damn slow. I can, if you'll notice in the other videos, I click on the videos and they upload just like that. But I go to a WordPress website and it can be like 10 seconds before the page loads. It takes that long. So, okay, where are we? We're at psychedelicrockopera.com, and let's go. I've got you screen sharing here. So we're still promoting the Oh Boy music movie and the Oh Boy. Let's see. Let me click on that. And I got 3 things here. I've got the the book, the Oh Boy book. We've got the Oh Boy album. And we got the Oh Boy music movies. You should get all three of those things to really get the full experience. You should have all three of those things. And then you've got Oh Boy everywhere. And the fourth thing, of course, the Oh Boy podcast. There's going to be 28 of these podcasts that are actually going to help you. So if you got the 28 podcasts and you got all these other things, you got the whole Oh Boy experience. Okay, so here we go. It looks like this particular website's only got 4 pages. And we're at the home page right now. And I started this. I thought I was going to release this in April 2022. I really did. I honestly did. But 2021, I spent in chemotherapy and radiation. And I just made a banging noise. I got to not hit the desk here. Sorry. It just totally knocked the wind out of me. I've got everything still set up in my hallway, all the storyboards and the sheets. And it just, once again, the cancer just really kicked the heck out of me. And it was hard to go back and finish things that I'd put behind because they had kind of the cancer vibe in my subconscious. So this particular project never got finished, and maybe it never will. And it was, to me, I don't want to say genius, but maybe it was. I was taking Buddha's life, and I was saying, I was creating as close to the facts as I can, because a whole bunch of facts I know about people trying to murder him and fighting and landslides and some of his followers and key people being murdered and people being injected, spies within his entourage that were trying to poison him and kill him too. So the real Buddha story is a really interesting story that unfortunately has never been told. So I wanted to tell that story in a fun way and not be held to being a documentary. So the actual name of it was Buddha, a rock opera. So in other words, it's like Jesus Christ Superstar. It's not necessarily a documentary. It's a Jesus Christ rock opera. Jesus Christ Superstar. So Buddha Superstar. Maybe that's what I should rename it if I ever made it a movie. Buddha Superstar. But anyway. I never finished it. But as you can see, it looks like when I last updated, well, actually, we're going to see, I actually updated it since then. But anyway, this is a picture from the 80s when I was performing the Coyote in a Graveyard rock opera. And what's really interesting is I have no idea what this guy's name is because he never recorded with us in the studio. And he rehearsed with us and he performed with us. And what was most interesting is he was from Newfoundland. And so I thought that gave us a connection. And he also had a kind of a beard, which my best friend Ab did, Ab Stockwood, who I used to perform with in Newfoundland. And Ab played a Telecaster. So I thought, oh man, it's like I'm finally in a band again with Ab because we used to perform together. But he disappeared on me because I think I'm guessing, I think his wife was complaining we weren't making enough money. So I don't know if he's in the music business. She may have pulled him out. But anyway, it was kind of a drag. I'm not going to even say how good he was because I don't have any recordings. I can't even verify if he was good enough. He was good enough. In fact, when Michael J. Fox came up on stage, he played his guitar. This guy actually let him play his Telecaster so we could do Johnny Be Good because he was rehearsing for that first Back to the Future movie where he plays Johnny Be Good in the movie. And so he said he wanted to figure out he wanted to see what it was like to play it in front of a real audience before he did the movie. So he sent us up a little note on stage that says, hey, I'd like to jam with you on stage. And I didn't know who he was, but I think the keyboard player got it first, and he knew who he was. He goes, "Oh, we should do this." And when the keyboard told me, "Hey, there's a guy here we should jam with," and I said, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know because I didn't watch television. I didn't even allow television in my house, so I really had no idea who he was. I'd never heard his name or anything. So anyway, but we became friends after that, and I hung out at Universal Studios with Michael J. Fox for about a year. But anyway, so we did become friends. But he said we should do it, so I said, "Well, okay." Because I like playing. I'm a jammer. I like jamming with people, strangers. So anyway, he was willing to give him his guitar. So Michael J. Fox came up and we jammed Johnny Be Good, which is a song I barely knew. I knew it by ear, but I'd never performed it, So I'm not going to say I even did a good job. I wouldn't want to hear the recording. Now, if we would have rehearsed it and gone up, I'm sure I could have done something really awesome. But I was just kind of like following along. I could hear it maybe in my head a little bit. So anyway, but I don't think this is the same gig that happened In fact, anyway, this was right about that time. This was within, well, it had to have been very shortly, around that time, within a month or two of that happening. Okay, so anyway, we're at the home page. So that rock opera, I don't know if I'm going to do it. I got to redo this thing, you know. Plus, this was 2022. It's kind of like the last time I was updating this website. Well, actually, anyway, here we go. So Coyote in a Graveyard, this is what you were just looking at Madame Wong's West. This rock opera, now that's the Coyote in a Graveyard was a rock opera. It's a total story. I wrote it as a story, a musical story. All the songs were pulled in. I even pulled in some songs from several years earlier that fit into the storyline to create that rock opera. So it was created as a story. It's a musical story. It's a rock opera. In fact, it mentions it here. This rock opera was written and performed during the 1984 launch of Shaolin Records. Michael J. Fox joined us on stage. New World Pictures requested a screenplay. Yeah, that's how I also got the screenplay. I wrote it for them, and then they quit making movies and gave it back to me without me having to pay any money. So I got it. I wrote a movie for them for free, and I got it back for free. But I've owned it 100%. Little did we realize the truth of this rock opera story that represented the exploitation of the homeless in Los Angeles. Richard went from performing it to living out the actual rock opera story 30 years later. Yeah, that's the real, almost nightmare of this story. Is I ended up living the Coyote in a Graveyard story. I ended up being in a homeless shelter, which is what Coyote in a Graveyard is. It's like a homeless shelter. Actually, they used the homeless to boost. It was a psychiatric hospital, but they're gathering up homeless to fill up all the empty rooms. And so anyway, but that's what that story is. Okay, moving down here. 1978 rock opera wins KPRI Battle of Bands. Yeah, this is one of my first rock operas from the mid-70s, 1977. I wrote this one probably somewhere around there. The Pauper. And this is me in San Diego. Yeah, all four of these pictures are me in San Diego. These are all from the 70s, all these pictures. And here they are. They're numbered. So I actually glanced at this before I did this podcast, but here we go. The first rock opera I ever wrote was called Underground, and it was kind of similar to the story of the Manson family. So seriously, that story about them kind of inspired some of the backstory to create this story, which was really fictitious, but I'd been through a lot of communes and things. So and this was based on, it became Sid's Place. Putting these two books together ended up becoming the book Sid's Place, which I wrote, finished by about in the early 80s, so some years later. So first it was a rock opera of this, the commune and such, and then this one, which is where it gets violent, which takes place in the book, where they become revolutionaries. Put these two together and we got the book Sid's Place. And then the Pauper came out, and this is when I started playing flute. I didn't play flute in these two because I didn't have a flute. But on this one, I got the flute. In fact, this tells it. 1977, Richard Del Conner awoke from a dream and said to the girl sleeping next to him, "I need to go buy a flute." This rock opera he dreamed was based on his interrupting a satanic sacrifice in ancient England. See, this is one of the first isekai movies, is what they call it. They got all of these movies or mangas, animes, whatever they call them, being pumped out of Japan and even China. About these, they call them adventurers, and they go into these dungeons and they kill monsters and get points, and then they leave and the monsters are dissolved and then they're recreated. So every time you go in there, there's always monsters in there. They call them dungeons. And so anyway, I've been watching it, but it's called an isekai because a lot of the times these adventurers it's a fantasy world, and the people who live in this fantasy world may have been somehow born into it, but real life people can somehow be scooped up and then going into your computer, go into this fantasy world or this game. And then they see their points just like they're in a game and stuff like that. So it's just like living in a video game is what it is. But it's called an isekai is what they call it in the Japanese term. And that's what this book is. And I didn't realize it until this last year that I might have written one of the first isekai stories, because this is about me going to another dimension, not in time, but in kind of another dimension where I actually become a king. And then I abuse it like Trump. I become kind of an evil king, and I get kicked out of my fantasy and I end up back in reality, but I come back as a gray-haired old man like I am right now, which is kind of funny because in real life now it's happened. I'm I bounced from creating that story to me right now, and my whole life had been spent within that dream, that fantasy world, and then I come back. But the problem was I couldn't finish that book because I couldn't figure out how to be an evil king. I mean, maybe I could now, but I would say, forget it. I don't want to write that story. Let's just look at Trump's story because he's an evil king. So there's plenty. If you want a story of an evil king, just look at Trump. So I don't want to ever touch that story. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. But that's the basis of it. But there's some really beautiful, cool story, and I could make some music videos out of sections of that movie that I can remember and I've written down. So I could actually create a whole bunch of music videos, but the actual total thorough story, I can't write it. It's just not in me. I don't know. It's not within. I got to write about what I know and experience. Couldn't be able to. I could never have created Trump. He just amazes me. I'm constantly amazed at how evil and corrupt he is. I could never imagine doing those things, and they're his primary motivations. I can't think like him. It's impossible. So it was impossible for me to finish that story. Okay, where were we? The 8-level story of American Zen, spiritual journey. That's a rock opera. That's based on the kind of almost documentary. It's all my stories as I go from phase to phase. I started off in 1991 with Peace of Mind, just trying to survive with my family in Utah, not realizing what a mistake I'd made. And survival was all it. Just want peace of mind. Just be happy. That's all I wanted. And then the next one was Battling the Mormons, which was Christ Killer. And then the third one is I Want You to Love Me, which is about accepting all religions and even getting along with the Mormons. I got along with the Mormons real good by the time I left Utah. It was a battle for a couple of years, several years, but we actually got over it. Because I got a lot of students who were Mormons, and then they talked to the higher-ups, and they talked to the higher-ups. And then I got this trickle-down thing of leave that Buddhist hippie alone. And then they treated me good. But there was, for a while, they even created an organization within the Mormons just to battle me. Okay, but that's another story. Okay, where were we? Oh, here's all my companies. Here's my music publisher. Here's my record company. Here's my movie company. Here's my making these websites and creating NFTs now, digital company. And here's what was going to be a religion, but now I just consider it a Buddhist. I'm a Buddhist scientist, and here's where I just have Buddhist knowledge. I want to say it. Okay. And then let's see, start your spiritual journey. Yeah, that's American Zen. All those albums are a spiritual journey. You should do the albums one by one and follow the stories and kind of see how I matured and survived and progressed through each level. The first level was how to start a family and raise a kid. So I succeeded. Then I got to the next level where I was surviving, but I was trying to do a business, but my business conflicted with the normal local religion. So I ended up trying to start a business and battle a religion at the same time. And of course, developing my own spirituality. That was when I also became a shaman, a Lakota Sioux pipe carrier, and went back to the reservation for my vision quest and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, so this is my spiritual story because, to be honest with you, American Zen was supposed to be a spiritual journey. It was always intended to be that. And then the fourth level was me becoming the Kung Fu Cowboy. Then the fifth level was actually me being the pipe carrier. And the sixth level was the vision quest, in which I went to the Rosebud Reservation and Bear Butte and the Medicine Wheel and got all kinds of visions. Yeah, that's when I talked about the visions. And so anyway, that's 7 or 6. And then 7 was many years later when I was homeless in my car, and I'm supposed to be escaping the material world, and I was. Everything I owned was in storage, and I was surviving off church food. And my dad sending me $28 a month so I could shower at the YMCA. So that was level 7, and I was happy. I was live healthy and happy, living my life, and that's when. So that's level 7, and then level 8 is Memorial Day when I woke up and bunch of ghosts in my brain were telling me stories. It's like, well, okay. I mean, I probably could have said, just get out of here, but I guess I'm just too friendly. And I agreed to tell those stories. So I told those stories. They disappeared. I haven't seen them since. Okay, but anyway, so that's what level 8 is. Those are 5 ghost stories and then my songs, So the songs that I would have written, and then the 5 I would have never written if it wasn't for those ghosts telling me those stories. I could have never imagined those stories. Okay. Okay, so a rock opera audiobook. Yay! Where do we go from here? So anyway, we'll get to these later. Oh, in fact, we'll click on these down here in the bottom on the last page. I figured that would be the easiest place to do that. Okay, so this is the home page. Kind of a little summary of what's going on, a little bit of it. Now let's go to the next link over here, which is rock operas. So we click on the rock operas. Now, the rock operas page, it looks like 1974 Bonita. That's the first one. And, oh, there's some free songs here. Get some songs here. If I click on this, this is...
The lights in the windows had all been buried in bed.
I like this song. It's kind of a... I don't know if you can hear it. It looks like I can see it on the meters. Then I'll kick in with my guitar. This is me in Bonita Studios. And I got all kinds of other people playing with me too. Now I'll kick in my guitar. I just had so much fun playing. Chorus. This is me in 1970. No, 74. Oh, there's a pause button. Yeah, that's a cool song. That's Meet Me Soon. That would have been the hit single from that song. There's a whole bunch of hit singles. There's several hit singles on that song, album, including this one. This is my ex-wife's favorite song, this Wishwood Bridge. I got all kinds of people. Craig Bartok is on this song. I connected with him a few years back and found him. Yeah, nice little bell. But anyway, go listen to them yourself. Okay, I could put it in the background. They always have music in millennial videos, you know. In the background, which to me is just so annoying because a lot of that music they put back there, they just know that millennials expect to hear noise in the background, music noise, because they're always wearing their headphones, and so it's just the most obnoxious music. It's worse than Muzak, you know, coined or stolen music. Like you take the Beatles music and you make a really crappy instrumental song out of it and put it in the background. It's worse than that. So anyway, but that's what millennials are used to. They can't handle silence because their brain doesn't know how to focus. They don't know. Anyway, if you do sports and things, you learn how to focus. You realize every ounce of your effort and mental attention needs to go to one place to make something happen. If you're playing soccer and you got to go kick a ball, you're not kind of looking around and thinking, oh, how are they doing in the, you learn how to focus. And that's unfortunately what millennials don't know how to do. If you're a millennial, just be aware of that. That's one thing you should always try to improve for the rest of your life because you've been raised and trained in a social environment where they actually discouraged you from having focus. Okay, where were we? Underground. So this is what I consider to be the Bonita one ended up kind of being a rock opera because it's just all the songs I wrote at that time, but I wasn't really trying to tell a story. But Underground is a story. I really wrote a story with this. And then that story went into the In Violence. So we'll come back on all this, I guess. And then it goes to the Popper, which is when I started playing flute. In fact, this is us recording the songs from the Popper. I recorded some really good stuff in a 16-track studio. 24-track didn't exist back then. It was maybe just coming in. Maybe it existed. No, it didn't exist. I mean, it could have, but nobody I knew had it yet. So we were doing 16-track Stevens recorder. They're real famous. All the Cars albums recorded on that 16 or 24-track Stevens. It's a 16-track. But anyway, I knew that producer and stuff. But stories about that. But anyway, here we go. We got a sample of that from here. Here's the Popper, in which I was, of course, playing a lot of acoustic guitar. One of the last times I ever played a capo was this song. I'm a cool guitar player. But then we come up here.
And please don't ask for faith and trust.
So anyway, I got a cool voice too. I've been hearing that lately.
Don't worry about
I do that. Why didn't I make any money?
For I'm not ashamed. I like me as I am.
But I like it when the guitar comes in here. This is Dan Link on guitar, electric guitar.
I've been a poor man for most
now the electric guitar is coming in. I like this song. Hey, me on flute. Yeah, that's a great song. I love that. We'll get goosebumps. Great song. Okay. And another song, free song, you can listen to right there. Now we go to the Coyote in a Graveyard rock opera. And this is me, actually, I think that's Cherokee Studios. I think that's us recording it on the very first day. We're in there recording it. I cut all the tracks on acoustic guitar with the drummer and the keyboard player, because live I'd play bass. So I cut all the songs on acoustic, because I remember that guitar player ditched us. Otherwise, we might have recorded it with the guitar and bass, me playing bass. But I don't know what happened to him. I can't even remember his name. I really can't. I'm not being mean. I really can't. And so anyway, I recorded the whole album, the whole soundtrack, rock opera, whatever, all the songs in the order on acoustic guitar. We did the whole thing in about 4 hours because we'd been playing the show. So it wasn't that difficult. We just needed to do a couple of takes of some songs and we got it. So we did the whole album, and then I came back, and on some of the songs I played bass, and on a few of the songs I did some vocals, and then we called it a night. And so we had really a lot to show for it. But that might be the first night. It could be another night when I came back and finished the bass. I do not know for sure. Okay, and this one's really cool. And Out of Touch is about being homeless, which this is 1984, before I actually became homeless in 2014. Wow, how about that? So 30 years later, I ended up living out this story. That's not a success story. This song, Out of My Mind, is really awesome. And this is one of the songs that, well, I'll give you a sample. When we performed on stage, I had a kung fu brother who played saxophone, and sometimes he'd show up and he had this one huge bass saxophone. I think you have to put it on the ground when you play it. And he would do this thing when we performed. This just sounded so cool. Let's see if I can do it. He'd go, boom, 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 boom. And then the great part. Boom, 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 boom. He did that part. Boom, 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 boom. It sounded so cool. We were playing a concert. He would do that riff on there. But anyway. Goosebumps and tears. Shit. Sorry, give me the cuss. I love performing. When I think of those memories of us playing and being on stage, those are the happiest moments of my entire life. I mean, lots of happy moments, fortunately, but they don't get happier than that. Oh, I choked up. They really are. All the happiness in my mind, they all just, if they could measure up to that, I've had lots of those super, super happy moments. And performing this rock opera, a lot of songs where I just, even some of the rehearsals are memorable. Some of our rehearsals were just, okay, where am I? Okay, so then there's a Peace of Mind rock opera, with totally a rock opera, the story of moving there with my daughter. It talks about it here. A couple of samples of that. By the way, I was playing this all screwed up just yesterday on drums and realizing what a great song this is. I used to use this song to teach people guitar because it's got everything, and it's got all kinds of guitar riffs and chording and picking and strumming things. Any guitar player I ever taught this song to knew how to play guitar. You can learn how to play guitar with just this one song, if you got somebody like me breaking it down for you. But all the little guitar techniques you need, from hammer-ons and pull-offs and scales and riffs and chords and different strumming techniques, this song is a great place to start. And then this next song, Free the Change, I remember, when I was done, I felt I was satisfied, but I didn't accomplish my original goal. My original goal was to play this song. I got some songs which I played for Hendrix, like my Dizzy, My Toxic Daughter was one I did to Jimi Hendrix. I would hope if Jimmy heard that song, he would go, "Oh, that's just fantastic. I wish I'd done that." Something like he would have done. But this album wasn't anything. This next song wasn't something like Jimi Hendrix would do, but it is something like Jimmy Page would do. So when I was making this song, he was kind of my mentor, role model, my goal. I was setting him as a standard. I don't know. Let's see if we go here to the middle of the song or the end. Guitar solo. Anyway, yeah, great. I love this song, but yeah, these solos were kind of inspired by him, and then they came out in my own way. I was envisioning it being even more like Jimmy Page, I think. So you can tell me, can you sense Jimmy Page in the song? But he was kind of my guiding light when I recorded this song. All right, where are we now? Then comes Christ Killer. Now this song, God Will Protect, I think it's phenomenal. I just got to get some credit for this song someday. This song, God Will Protect, it's got reverse guitar. It's got one of my best flute solos I ever did. It's got great vocals in it, which I added later because I couldn't do them in the 90s. I only had a 4-track recorder. So the original version of this didn't have as many vocals on it. So I was able to add a whole bunch more vocals when I released it on CD. Because then I got Pro Tools, kind of added a whole bunch more stuff to it, and then I created the CD. But yeah, God Will Protect. Great bass solo. This is, to me, as a musician, is a song I measure myself by. I'd say this represents me as a musician. And The Horizon is, I've gotten a lot of compliments over this song. This really moves people. A lot of people have found it really good. It kind of builds in a certain, it's kind of like the Cars in a little bit. But it really has and it's spiritual. It's a really spiritual song. In fact, I even did the vocal on Thanksgiving after I was hanging out with a priestess, what was it? Red Cloud's tribe. Oh, Cheyenne. She was a Cheyenne sorceress, priestess or whatever. We used to hang out a lot. I met her when I was doing I was going to the powwows. We became very, very close. That close to being romantically close. I mean, we just really hit it off. But I was raising my daughter, and she was having trouble with her daughter and stuff like that. And merging our two families together just seemed like more of a difficulty than an advantage. But the two of us, if we wouldn't have had the kids, I think the two of us really could have had a future. And she looks, well, I shouldn't tell you too much, but she looks a little like her. And, yeah. That's Kathy Grace, by the way. In fact, I think she's going to get a credit here in this website. Okay, but this is a great song. Now this song, House of Rejection, I jam on. I was playing this probably in the last 2 days, this song. This is, to me, as kind of, as a guitar player, this is the song I kind of like use to represent me being a great guitar player. It's just, it's got a great riff on it. Anyway, that's a great song. I love the lyrics, but this was actually written in like 1980. And then when I did this album, it's about I Want You to Love Me. It was like this song just had to go on there. It just made sense. I don't know how. My daughter used to listen to a lot of my cassettes and things, and so she said, "Oh, I love this song." In fact, the only reason I Kill the Spider ever saw the light of day and became like a hit song is because my daughter found it on a cassette tape. She said, "I really like this song." And I listened to it. I go, "Oh, I didn't even remember." Well, I barely remembered making it back in the 70s. And I turned it into a song and put it on the album. So yeah, my daughter gets a little credit for picking out some of these things. And then yeah, there it is. Here's Kill the Spider. Once again, this is kind of like got a signature riff on it. Should be recording this one. This is a great song. Make a great heavy metal song. As I mash you with the palm of my hand, kill the spider. It's a great song. Anyway, and the next song, I got a lot of compliments on this. Most people don't know the story behind Elaine. Steven Spielberg loved this song. In fact, even Kathleen Kennedy liked it too. In fact, I sent her a version of it this century, and she said she really liked it. It's got swords in it and everything, but Spielberg, when he was making the Hook movie, the pirate movie, he offered me to use that galleon if I could come up with $25,000 insurance, so that if I damaged anything, I could replace it. But he said if I could come up with that insurance policy that he needed, I could have it on the spare weekends when he wasn't shooting, because they were a union production, I guess, and so they weren't working on the weekends. So he said I could use it to make my music videos, and he knew about the screenplay, and he knew that some of the scenes took place on a galleon. So he offered it to me for, like I said, whatever his insurance needed, and I could have been using that galleon and made a music movie, at least this one music video, this part of the movie. Okay, here we go. But thank you, Stephen. I wish I could have taken you up on that. I really do. But I'm just a poor guy from San Diego. Actually, I shouldn't say San Diego. It's all Republican. They're all Republican down there. Where do I say I'm from? Just a California hippie. Maybe that's a better way to say it. Because I don't represent San Diego at all. Like I said, I got kicked out of San Diego, and I tried to go back, and it's like they made me feel very, very unwelcome. It's like, wow, I don't want to stay here. Even my father said, don't come back. Nobody likes you. So anyway, as they say, a prophet can't be famous in his homeland. So nobody's going to ever accept me in my homeland. So where were we? There's another one. Oh, there's my darling daughter here. Level 5 is Pipe Carrier. What do I say? This rock opera was, need a D, got a typo here, released on cassettes in Utah in 1994 and sold to my students. Yeah, because, I'm constantly making music about whatever's going on in my life. So I put this event, this period of my life in music. A whole bunch of songs that haven't been released. I had become involved with the Lakota Sioux and made a pipe carrier or medicine man. The Native American record companies were solicited with this album, but they would not release it because it contains too much spirituality and stories of Native American ceremonies. They would never publish a photo of ceremony either. This pipe carrier rock opera details my journey into Lakota Sioux traditions and becoming a disciple of Fool's Crow, because my chief Richard Sparrow Eagle was the last disciple of Fool's Crow. When he was a teenager, he was the last person to learn from the real Fool's Crow, and he was his last disciple. I saw a couple of his books, and then he's passed away. So that makes me one of the last living disciples of Fool's Crow, even though I'm not a Native American. So I cannot. That was the one provision that Richard Sparrow Eagle said. He said I can conduct all these ceremonies and pipe ceremonies and things that he taught me, but he said I could never create another pipe carrier because I'm not a Lakota Sioux. So I'm kind of like I'm neutered. I'm sterile. I can't create another pipe carrier. Pipe carriers are all kind of all dead. And what's really sad is by them censoring me, nobody knows what Native American ceremonies are, and they've lost popularity. I think that they are much less popular now than they were 30 and 40 years ago, or even 50 years ago. They've been going down like the cowboy movie. The Native Americans have been kind of just like ignored. Nobody's going to care. So anyway, this, which is a shame. I could have promoted that culture, or a lot of people who would have gone through my series of music and my stuff and my stories. And I got a couple of books that explain about all the ceremonies and the traditions and history of Lakota. People would have experienced a lot more of that, and maybe had a lot more fans of the Lakota Sioux or just Native Americans in general. But unfortunately, even the Lakota Sioux didn't back me up. Nobody has supported me. Nobody. Okay, anyway, here we go. If they did, tell me who you are. I'll give you credit. Okay, and then the Vision Quest. In fact, this was made. When was this made? This was made, I think, after the Vision Quest. And I actually hollowed out a maple. I found a big log, and I hollowed it out. And then I got this elk hide, and I tanned it myself. And I actually used ashes from a sweat lodge. I've always been kind of into being spiritual, but I ran through years of my life where I was very focused on it on a daily basis. And I used ashes from a sweat lodge that were blessed to create the tanning lotion that I used on this elk hide drum. And I cut all the laces and everything myself and built the drum. I painted it blue. I stained it blue, which is kind of neat here. Forget how I did that. But it looks I think it looks really cool. And I created this drum. And then I used it on the album. So on certain songs, do I mention? Do I give you? Oh, look at that. I didn't give you samples. I couldn't. Everybody else I gave you. No, these last two albums. But I couldn't give you samples of these albums now because I guess they weren't. This was only released in cassette. And I've only, the last few years, been able to digitize it. I had to buy a cassette player, which is right over there, and which is a decent quality, and then be able to play the cassettes and turn them digital so I could sell them or do anything with them. But I've got a whole cabinet full of masters, and for $100 a master or more, I can convert them to digital, like 2-inch tapes and stuff, big thick tapes, like when I was with Fleetwood Mac, and I got 24-track or 16-track tapes. Yeah, I don't know if do I have 24? I used them later, but most of my stuff is 16-track. I got 16-track tape, I got 8-track tape, I got 4-track tape, and then I've got half-inch, I got quarter-inch tape, which are mix downs, which are really the highest quality, best versions that I could do at that time of mixing all the stuff together. So I've got master mixes, which are meant to take those and make a record or a single out of, and I've got those, and then I've got the original cassettes, which, like I said, I did download most of those. That took quite a long time because I had like 50. No, more than that, 100. More than 100 cassettes. I got all these boxes of cassettes from writing songs all those years. Okay, but here we go. Anyway, let's see. Well, I tell something about the Vision Quest. Well, since we talked about it, let's wrap it up. This is nice and short. 1995, level 6 equals Vision Quest. Now, the interesting thing about that is, I don't know how much you want to know. There's a whole lot of levels to this story. Like, one of the reasons I was so spiritual and I was a pipe carrier is that I wasn't having sex with my wife for over a year. And she was going through a breakdown. And she was on Zoloft. And that reduces your sex drive, too. So I was completely like living the monk life during this time that I was working with the Lakota Sioux, which I think kind of intensified the spirituality. Kind of like a boxer not doing it intensifies their boxing. But anyway, so I was not having sex with my wife for over a year there and during this period. And I think that kind of heightened my spirituality in a way. Let's see. And then 2014, we jump ahead, and here's the end, like I told you. And this is what my studio, this is the front seat of my Tacoma, and that's the microphone, which is a great microphone, professional microphone I'm using, with a pop screen, and there's my headphones, and there's my steering wheel. And there's the recorder. This is a 4-track recorder, so I thought it was interesting how my whole life was like starting over. I started in 4-track back in 1970, 74. 73, 74. I started with 4-track recording on Tascam 4-track. Got all kinds of big 4-track tape. Half-inch, I think it was. And then, but anyway, here I am with a 4-track recorder. So that's what the End of the Line and the Memorial Day album were recorded on, was this 4-track recorder. It's a Zoom. This is what they sometimes use in movies because it's really portable, but it's professional quality. But it's, as you can see, quite portable. Okay, and but that's my studio. And then here's another picture of the studio again. Another day, different mess. But there's the recorder. This is the box that the microphone goes in, but you can't see it because it's blocked by the pop screen right here. Then I sit in the driver's seat, put the headphones on, and sing towards the microphone or swing the microphone in front of me, and then yell. In fact, sometimes I'd have my sleeping bag stuffed up here in the front window to lower the noise. So sometimes you'll see, like that last picture. Yeah, here it is. This picture's got my sleeping bag up here. That cuts down the noise, and it also cuts down on the reverb when I'm singing. So nothing's bouncing back off my windshield. There's no echo. All right, and then comes the Buddha Rock Opera, which, like I said, is totally on hold. And the last line on this says, "There's murder and deception and tragedy and family." Because remember, the original Buddha actually had a wife and a kid. I hope to create the most realistic and complete view of Buddha's life that I know of. But unfortunately, I may not do that. I mean, I'd still like to come back to it someday. Maybe I can get some help. I'd like to actually do more research. If I could get some researchers to supply me more information and give it more factual data to go into the story, I would really appreciate that and be willing to do that. Okay. So where we go? Okay, so there's the list of the rock operas, basically. So at the top of this page, we look up here. This says Rock Operas of Shaolin Records. So that's what we've been looking at. And we can see year by year how I've been making them. And I've got more. I actually need to update this because when's the last year? This is 2021 now. I've actually done the Coyote Kung Fu Cowboy movie. I don't know if I call it, it's a music movie. And it's not really a story because it's a whole bunch of songs put in certain orders. In fact, Scott Carahadian changed it. I kind of liked the order of the songs, but as I wasn't paying Scott and I was trying to get as much feedback and interest from him as I could, I allowed him to redo the ordering of the songs, which kind of complicated things in a lot of ways for me, but I was trying as hard as I could to let him feel like he had a creative input into this project. So to this day, the order of the songs you see is the Scott Carahavian order of the songs. So if it was a story, he changed the story, but that's why I was willing to go along with it because it wasn't really a linear story. So where are we? Okay, then the next page over here is the blog. Okay, so the blog. In fact, here it is. Kung Fu Cowboy at club concert. In fact, this is from the first rock and roll movie videos we shot. And actually, that's not the first. The first ones, I wasn't even shaven. I was shaven, and I thought to myself, man, I look too much like an old man. And so by the time Scott came back for the next few, because we'd shoot them in 2 or 3 videos a week, it took a long time. And so I grew my beard, so this isn't the first few songs. And let's see. So what's the topic of this one? Oh, we're on the blog. Okay, so there's Daryoon is a slide, because I hadn't bought my Dobros yet. So now I'm totally into the slide thing. Been playing lots and lots of slide guitar now. Pictures of home. Okay, so if you click on these, okay, so let's just click on one to see what happens. Let's go this web. Pictures of home. Oh, this is so cool. Where do you click on here to see the whole thing? I just clicked on it. Oh, remember, this is a WordPress. Look, you see how slowly it goes in here. So here's the actual blog. Oh, so some of these blogs, if you go in there, there's more songs. They're like this one has pictures of home. I love this song. I think it's a really good song. Anyway, you listen to it on your own. I mean, I'd like to play it right now, but let's see. Yeah, there's all the posts. So go into the posts, so you might find some more free songs. Okay, so that's the blog. Okay, then we go over to the contact, and here's the contact page. And it looks like I wrote something kind of funny. This is, by the way, a picture of me was taken right before I met my ex-wife. So this was, once again, the end of my real life or something, or about the time I met her. So, but anyway, we're actually at a cemetery, and that's me there, and there's my pleasant. I'm carrying my spiritual staff, the whole story on that. Okay, so what does it say here? Oh, this is the Stone Roses album, which will maybe never get made now. The Stone Roses album takes place in the Middle East 300, 400 years ago. It's actually a story I got from Freemasonry, but now that I'm out of Masonry, I'm probably never going to record that out. If I do record the album, it's not going to be the original rock opera story that I intended it to be. But here's a question here on this page. It says, how many rock operas has Richard Del Conner produced? Answer, 18 rock operas by the Hippy Coyote. Hey, more to come. So 18, I call it the Hippy Coyote, but he wasn't always around for those first couple. Like, he didn't exist in the 70s when I wrote Underground and In Violence. So, but the Hippy Coyote, I don't know. He gets a lot of credit, but now that I'm the Kung Fu Cowboy, it's like, man, nobody cares about the Hippy Coyote. Should I start renaming stuff? But anyway, I'm trying to just leave him in the past, and everything's Kung Fu Cowboy now. I'm not the Hippy Coyote if I write anything or do anything anymore. It'll be Richard Del Conner as the Kung Fu Cowboy. But anyway, here's Kathy Grace, and I think I'd mentioned before about how our stage setup. It says, we had the best crew of roadies in California. We set up the Coyote in a Graveyard rock opera on stage in 7 minutes, or less, but 7 minutes max. We got off the stage in even less time. Beat that. That's a 4-piece band. Remember, that's a keyboards, guitar, bass, and drums. That was a 4-piece band getting on and off the stage. And there's Kathy, Chief Roadie. Sometimes we called her Head Roadie, but I think maybe that sounds bad. So maybe Chief Roadie. I think that's our best title for her, Chief Roadie. So if I said Head Roadie, I should have said Chief Roadie. And that's a picture of her. In fact, that's her over here. You can see her. She's on my album cover. I tried to find her. If you do find her, have her call me. I've looked everywhere. I looked at LinkedIn, Instagram, all those places. I couldn't find her. So I've looked actually for about a lot of my friends. And a couple of friends I did find have died in the last decade. So kind of not looking anymore. I'm an old hippie. And because I did Shaolin Kung Fu since 1980, I think that added some years onto my life. That maybe my co-hippies, my compatriot hippies, anyway, they didn't survive as long as I did. So here we go. And this, it's got a valid email. This is what I was doing for making the movie when we were 10 years ago. Shaolin Pictures at iCloud, trying to get my movie company started. I had $18 million in my movie company. Now I got $18. Yeah. and it's, I'm record producer, Richard O'Connor, founder of Shaolin Records. Yeah. And, oh yeah, I was a UCLA student. I forgot that. Underneath this picture of me over here, which looks really psychedelic, it says UCLA student. And I was. This was 1986. I was actually still a UCLA student when I took this picture. When someone took this picture. Tell that story another time. But I love this picture because, to be honest with you, this is one of the closest pictures to what I looked like in a mirror when I used to take acid. There were times when I looked in a mirror, and that's exactly what I looked like. And when I created that, so I don't know, you'll notice this picture around. It's one of my favorites. My skin with this color orange is exactly the color of orange I've seen my skin be. But it was like wax, and it was like kind of dripping. It wasn't really pretty. But I looked exactly like this, and yeah. So to me, that picture, it did mean something to me. And so hopefully the psychedelia doesn't bother you, but for me, this I can see myself in the mirror when I see this picture. Okay, so the last thing I was going to do is click on these things down here, and I checked them out, and they go real fast. So here we go. If we click on this one, this takes us to American Zen about level 1. And the level 1 has a whole bunch of pages you go through. And if you follow these buttons at the bottom of every page, not the top, because I want you to read the page, and then you click this, then this takes you to the next page of the website. And then you come down here and all kinds of stuff, and you click on a button again. Wait, where's that button? There. Oh, well, these are sample buttons. Yikes. Okay. Well, I put all these instructions on later to help people. Maybe that button got taken off. Okay, so let's go back to where we just were, which is, but yeah, when you see those forward buttons, that kind of takes you in a progression of the website. I think I'm missing a button on that page. Then the next one here is level 2, which takes us to, as you can see, every section of American Zen of the 8 levels has a different theme to it. Now, I became homeless during level 4, so 5, 6, 7, and 8 really never materialized as bona fide website sections of American Zen. I couldn't do it. I just wasn't capable of doing it when I was homeless. So anyway, with the first 4, give you an idea what I wanted it to be. So then the second level looks like this. All the backgrounds will look like this. And once again, it's got a different go-to. Next web page of level 2. It's got a different thing. So then you click on this, come down here, look further. See, that last one had instructions. It should have had a button above the instructions. And then you go to the next page. The next page, and that's how you travel through this website. You can do those, and that way you'll pretty much see everything, I think. So okay, let's go back. I'll just close that. Come down here. Okay, so that was the level 2. Then we go to level 3. That's got a different look. That's kind of interesting, kind of cool. I didn't want to go all pink and flowery. That's too stereotypical. But I wanted something that was subtle and kind of co-gender. That's a button I got to take off. But look at the next button. It's Cupid. So on this one, you click on the little Cupid, and that takes you to the next page of the website. Click on it again. But look how fast those web pages load. See, this is an old-fashioned website. See how fast they are? The other one, it takes a minute to always load. And my old-fashioned websites, they just blast. That's kind of why I like them. See, I'll click on it. Boom. There it is. It just loads up like that. Okay. Where were we? Oh, let's go back to that. That worked for me. Okay, so then we come back to the bottom. That was level 3. Oh, here's level 4. It'll look different because it's going to go to a different part of American Zen to tell this story. So this is kind of the Kung Fu Cowboy. So I wanted something that was earthy. So I kind of picked this. You see how, as a graphic artist, how he's being stylistic here. Here's the buttons, because I was getting into the Native American thing too. So the buttons in this website, this section of the website are different. So you follow these buttons. That's how you get around. I don't know if I designed that button or not. I got it from somewhere, I think. I don't know where that button came from. But yeah, you just click on the button and that takes you to the next page of this website. Level 4 equals Kung Fu Cowboy. All right, so there we go. So that was it, and then that was the last page. We did the contact. There's the See how long that took to load? Anyway, here's the contact. Oh, there was one more button to push here. Now, level 5 and level 6, like I said, I passed over those because the Native Americans didn't want me to release that music, and they wouldn't release it, and I was kind of stymied. What do I do here? Well, I did put it out on cassette and sold it to my students, but I didn't know if I could mass market it, if I was going to get banned, because back then Native Americans would like ban and protest you if you were like imitating them or doing something. And so I was kind of concerned. So I kind of like hid that project. So those 2 Native American albums and books were like shelved because of Native American prejudice. So I thought this was going to be the level 5. So anyway, so what happened was the Buddha Zen period there, and the album I released there, I consider that actually part of the American Zen journey, but I did this Buddha Zen. But anyway, it's a little complicated, but this was recorded in 2003. Well, performed live from 2002 to 2005. A bunch of live, but this is just me, acoustic and singing. And I'm not acoustic and then adding a vocal. I'm playing and singing. These are all live performances. And you can look at this. I've been trying to sell stuff. You can buy each song individually here. Like Dear Mom. We go over here to Dear Mom and click on this Add to Cart. And what happens? And it goes to payloads and it says, yeah, here it is, 88 cents. Remember? Because I started my pricing in 1999. So I was selling poems for 44 cents and then songs for 88. I sell everything for 99 or it's supposed to be $1.11 now at iTunes. But I sell a poem and a song at the same price now. But I was even selling the poems at half price. Didn't generate anything. But yeah, we go here and you can do this and you say, okay, yeah, I want this or I want more copies of the song. Well, don't do that. You can add more songs. Well, here it is. You can see it right here, down here at the bottom. See these poems. This is from the first album and the poems are 44 cents each and the songs are 88 cents each. I could raise the price, but who cares? Nobody's buying them anyway. So to me, it's kind of a piece of history that was my genuine pricing then. So why should I change it? I'll price new things higher or whatever. But yeah, there you go. So you can buy my poetry for 44 cents a poem. All right. So where did we go? Going back. Oh yeah. So we were on that. I was clicking on the bottom and that took us over to this. Oh, there's a whole different website. I kind of like went too fast here. And it looks like this page was designed to be a little wider for some reason. Click on it. So you make it wider. You see the whole thing. Okay. Stretch it out. Looks like it wants to be about that wide to really be able to see everything comfortably. Because remember, I was building these for the computer screen. So this is nice and comfortable now. You see everything nice and cozy. Oh, look at this. I even updated it to add that. So, but I've done some updates, some work around here. But anyway, this is the, but a lot of these things may not work, like iTunes. A lot of these iTunes links and stuff don't work because they change stuff. And a lot of my old links just don't work. They don't format them the same. Really frustrating as I go through and test the site and try to figure out how to upgrade it and then realize, well, this should work, but it doesn't. And what do I do? And how do I find the new link? It's a lot of work. Okay, so anyway, but this is coyoteradiotohunga.com. Now, I was living in Tujunga, but it's pronounced with a H. And Tujunga is Native American. It means big wind. Or big fart, as I used to tell my Kung Fu students, little kids. I used to teach Kung Fu classes. Yeah, we're in Tujunga. This is the big fart city. Big wind city. I used to make kids laugh. But anyway, that's what Tujunga means. And Coyote Radio has always been a dream of mine. Coyote Radio TV has been a dream I've had since I was a teenager. I wanted this website, this TV station is what I mentioned back then. That would be like this. And I if you could help me recreate this, that would be so awesome. And if we could make it a way to make money, I'll give you half of whatever it is because I'm not making any money now and I need an upgrade. But anyway, I need to turn that. So anyway, Coyote Radio is to me just a cool thing. It just means something a lot to me. It resonates. So anyway, the coyoteradiotohunga.com is this. Now I've got a whole nother album which I've never released because I've probably never sold 1,000 even of these records at all. So there hasn't been the demand, and I've always want to keep going to the new stuff, but I've actually already recorded another entire album of these songs. They're just sitting there all done and ready. They just need to be put together and boom, have another album entirely. So, because these weren't the only songs I recorded during those years, like this. I'd set up the one microphone on my guitar, one vocal. And I'd set up in the living room and wait until it was quiet and dogs weren't barking, and sometimes I'd be singing my son to sleep. So he's supposed to be quiet anyway. But then I'll finish a song and sometimes you'll hear him go, woo, or he'll clap in the background. You're supposed to be sleeping, but I'm trying to sing him to sleep, but I'm recording it. Rather than just singing him to sleep, I thought, well, let's get something out of, get something out of this. And so that's what I was trying to do. Singing him to sleep and trying to create a recording at the same time. But anyway, there's a little bit of the story here, but this is a great album. These are all, like I said, recorded with my son was my audience on every song here. All right, so I think that wraps it up for this podcast of psychedelicrockoperas.com. There's the homepage again. So this is cool. I wouldn't be able to make it out of HTML. I don't know how to do this, make it so the pictures in the background don't move as quickly as the foreground. So I like certain things about WordPress. I can make really cool looking websites, fancy, real easy. But anyway, we've been there, we've done that, and I'm selling stuff. I'm selling stuff here. Go to here, listen to some music for free, buy some stuff, support your local Buddha. I mean, hippie. I mean, whatever I am. All right. See you later.